Everyone that said Paddy Pimblett had lost his star power, in my opinion, is completely wrong. Everybody was speaking about Paddy Pimblett after the weekend, especially if you were slagging him off. You know, every single comment on the video I released about him was just saying how disliked he was, how much they dislike him, don't want to see him back in the UFC. And this is one thing that I seen a lot on TikTok, okay? I seen a lot of people saying, oh, you know, Paddy versus Poirier next, Paddy versus Gaethje next, Paddy versus McGregor next. There's no chance Paddy would ever beat anybody in the top 15. And I'm like, okay, right, you can clearly look at Paddy's striking and say, okay, Paddy floats his chin up in the air on the exit and on the way in when he's coming in with strikes, right? Tony Ferguson was catching him, and Paddy showed very good composure, I thought, on the ground, despite being completely gassed out from the second round. You could see it in the second and third. Paddy kind of against the cage, Tony putting jabs to his body, straights to his body, and Paddy kind of being a bit like, okay, I'm tired here. Look, there was this guy on TikTok, right, the other day who I actually commented on someone's TikTok kind of disagreeing. He said Paddy Pimblett versus McGregor makes the most sense next, right? And I was sat back and I said, in what world does that make any type of sense? McGregor might only have one fight left, and Paddy only has like 2-3 more fights. I'd say 2 at a push before he gets into the top 15 and has to start fighting real competition. You know, that very well could be next. So why would you have McGregor versus Pimblett fight next? And regardless of who McGregor fights, it's going to be a massive pay-per-view sales, right? Regardless of who Paddy fights next, there's also going to be loads of eyeballs on it. Why would you have them fight each other? If McGregor loses, okay, McGregor's out of the conversation kind of completely about anything. His hype really dies down. Of course, people will still watch him fight, but there's not that buzz there. The UFC won't make nearly as much money, and there's not as many interesting fights you can make, right? That's all out the picture. But if Paddy loses, okay, so now this young star has lost all of his hype, and it's been proven correct. As soon as he fights a top-level guy, he's done. Why not give Paddy 2 more fights, an easy one in the top 15, one more outside the top 15, right? Build him still, sell as many tickets, sell as many pay-per-views with Paddy, put him through as much media as possible, build him up as much as possible before he loses, right? Like, really rinse every bit of money you can out of Paddy Pimblett. If I'm the UFC, I'm thinking, yeah, you know, he's still a star. And the whole point of this is Paddy gained 200,000 followers in the last week on Instagram. Do you know what I mean? So he's still there. People are still interested, you know, and because he won, and it was by a dominant decision, it's kind of even more of the talking point of, oh, this is what happens when Paddy's not compromised. Personally, I just believe he's just the power Paddy has. I mean, you could see in his shoulders, on his back, he was much bigger than he was a year ago. He's put on muscle in a lot of areas, and I think that's why he gassed out a little bit quicker. I know he really went for the kill in the first round against Tony Ferguson, but I mean, his grappling as well, he showed a lot of composure. He had shown improvement, and if he fights every 4 or 5 months, you know, he needs to stay in the gym and keep improving, because you don't necessarily improve that much in fight camp, because that's all about getting in a good shape. However, McGregor's got another big fight in him, maybe 2. Do you know what I mean? And that's the thing, if McGregor wins his next fight, the sky's the limit for a $2 million pay-per-view in 2025. Do you know what I mean? This is what I mean. I think McGregor, if he loses his next fight, I'd be very interested to see what McGregor says and what's next, you know? I think if McGregor loses next time, McGregor could very easily come out and just say, look, the inactivity's kind of failed my career, and it's heartbreaking, he loves fighting, but money has changed him. He's probably got around 600 million in the bank right now. Do you know what I mean? Maybe more than that. His kids, I mean, the video of him and his kids playing and doing sports in Dubai is just crazy, like just having a nice time, and the king of all sports just sitting back, he has everything he's ever wanted, and just knowing he never has to fight again, or he never has to do anything again. Imagine that. Imagine sitting back with a drink in your hand and just knowing I've completed everything possible in life and no one can take that away from me. And it's true, it's what everybody strives for. But I want to talk more about Paddy. Paddy gained 200,000 followers in the last week. He was at 2.5, now he's at 2.7 million followers, okay? The guy is a draw. I mean, regardless of if you love him or hate him, the cornrows Paddy is cool, he's fun. If he fights someone like Dan Hooker next, that's a dangerous fight. If he fights someone like Bobby Green, I think that's a more winnable fight. However, Bobby Green's boxing is very sharp. Bobby Green has power. But I think that's a good next fight. Bobby Green versus Pimblett in May, something like this. or even March potentially. Pay Paddy a bit more, get him back in there in March. I think he would do it. Give him that. I mean, think about it. If he gets back into training camp mid-January, that's a good 9 weeks, and get him another fight under his belt. Let him go away, have his twins, then bring him back in July for International Fight Week. You know, because obviously Paddy's twins are being born like 2 weeks into April, which is a week after UFC 300, you know, and I think that he's due the same week, so he did not want to be in Vegas or something like that, wait, and then his twins are born, you know, he doesn't want to risk that, which is completely understandable. But I want Paddy to succeed, and I don't know why the MMA fans don't want him to succeed. It's absolutely hilarious. The thought of Paddy Pimblett being a top 5 guy is so foreign to everyone, but it would be absolutely massive, and the guy would blow up. Sean O'Malley was at 400,000 followers 2 UFC fights in. He then beats Jose Quinones. He gets 400,000 more. He's done 800,000 followers, right? He then beats Eddie Wineland and he goes up to 1 million. And then he was at 1 million and something for a while, and then after he kind of racking up those wins, he was at 2.5 million. Then before fighting Aljo, he was at 2.9 million. Now he's at 3.9. That's a good growth, really good growth for being a star. But with Pimblett's personality and coming off like probably the most negative reception we've ever seen in the UFC for a while, everyone hated Paddy Pimblett. To get 200,000 followers in a week is not bad, and now he's at 2.7 million. If the guy beats someone in the top 15, he will skyrocket into superstardom. You know, he's nothing like McGregor in what he says. You mean in the post-fight interviews and press conferences, he's just himself. He's not trying to be entertaining. He's not trying to say the right things. That's why people follow him, because he's just this charismatic, crazy guy. And the fact that his fight style is so like iffy to watch, but he still gets wins, is even more exciting. You know. You know he's going to go out there and throw wild punches, and he's got lots of power. We've definitely seen Paddy Pimblett's extreme power in his punches, and we've even seen in his most recent fight, you know, he was doing this more. You heard his coach Colin say, "Your chin's in the air," and he would go like this. Then it would be right back up again. That's what makes it exciting. Also, folks, I am fighting in 9 days' time. And I'm getting grazed a lot in sparring, because I'm doing a lot of sparring, because I'm just wanting to get that feel and get that cardio out the way. A lot of like 50% sparring, and I'm still getting grazed. So like clearly I'm not very good myself. But I'm fighting on the 30th, and I'm gonna do a fight reaction video over on the vlog channel if you want to go watch that. That's not the point. I want your guys' thoughts. What do you guys think? 200,000 followers in a week after being the most hated man in MMA? Look, Paddy Pimblett has so much potential. I know realistically he's never going to be a champion, guys. The striking just isn't there. But did you hear what I said though? About a year ago I made a video saying this is how to save Paddy Pimblett's career, and I said give him Michael Johnson or Tony Ferguson. They gave him Tony Ferguson, and what did I say? I said, Paddy, go out there and grapple him, ragdoll him on the ground, and that's what he did. And my prediction was Paddy by decision as well. I made an official prediction like 2-3 months ago. I got that spot on, so I quite like Paddy Pimblett. It's the same with Sean O'Malley. I predicted Aljo to knock him out in the second, absolutely, and that's what happened. So very good, very good. And yeah, MMA is exciting. Next year will be exciting. We've got a month with no videos, so you can look out for big videos coming on the channel. I'm out here in Thailand, so my setup is just horrible, guys. But I'm really gonna try figure out a way to get the setup going a bit better. But realistically, until I'm home, I've got my studio being made, which is just so weird to say. I've kind of invested a few £100 into having a little studio made, a little recording studio area, and I think it's gonna look good. It's gonna look very cool, and I'm really excited to be back making videos for you, and it's gonna be a good time. So thank you very much, folks. See you in the next video. Give me your thoughts on everything I've just said. Paddy Pimblett has the potential to be the biggest name in the UFC if he wins a fight inside the top 15. Subscribe to the vlog channel as well. Links in the description.